Welcome to Good Screenwriting. I'm Trevor Meyer, and today I wanted to answer a question that I read on Facebook, which may be on some of your minds right now. Can said person writing the script put too much detail into the action going on? As an example, instead of saying, 3 guys walk into a bar, simple, straightforward, saying, 3 middle-aged men wearing formal suits, middle-aged man 2 is holding a cigarette in his left hand, walk into a musky bar. Now, there have been so many great answers already to this question, but I wanted to throw my 2 cents in. I think it's, like a lot of people said, going to depend on why you're telling us this information. It's got to be utilitarian in that way. For example, 3 guys walk into a bar. I don't know if you would ever want to write a line like that in a script, just because that doesn't tell us anything. Why are you saying that 3 men walk into a bar? Now, picking apart the other description here, 3... It's important that there are 3. Middle-aged, if that's important to the story, yeah, middle-aged. Men, okay, if they have to be men, okay. Wearing formal suits. Now, I assume there's a reason why they're wearing formal suits. So, if there's a purpose for that, that's perfect, leave it in. Middle-aged man 2 is holding a cigarette in his left hand. Again, this is only necessary if it's relevant to the story. So, is this going to be a murder mystery where the killer is left-handed and we're really going to need to know that this guy holds a cigarette in his left hand? If not, or if his right hand is, deformed or missing or something like that, then yeah, I guess it's important that he's left-handed. Other than that, just leave it up to the actor. I mean, if you've taken Samuel L. Jackson's masterclass in acting, you'll see how much actors like to bring to the role. They have input on the costumes. They have input on the behavior of the character. They have input on the way they speak. So I wouldn't get too detailed in how the actor proceeds unless it's really important to the plot. Okay? And walk into a musky bar. I don't know about musky. Isn't musky kind of a smell? Smoky might work better. I don't know if you can tell that it's musky just by looking at the screen. But for the most part, I think that description works. I don't know if the left hand thing is necessary, but I wanted to use this as a jumping off point to use examples from other screenplays. One of my favorites is The Matrix, just to read. Here's the description of Trinity from The Matrix. Sitting there, her hand still on the keyboard, is Trinity, a woman in black leather. That's all they give us. That's it. They don't add more later. It's just a woman in black leather. They mention nothing of hair color, eye color, skin color, whether she's left-handed or right-handed, how tall she is, how skinny she is, nothing. All they do actually is describe her clothes, all right? That's interesting because they don't want to limit their casting options, okay? They write dialogue and they write what she's wearing in the most vague terms. It's a woman in black leather. What's that mean? To a large degree, the costume designer and the actor is going to determine that. Now, here's a description of the agents, for example. Agent Smith, Agent Brown, and Agent Jones get out of the car. They wear dark suits and sunglasses even at night. They are also always hardwired, small Secret Service earphones in one ear, the cord coiling back into their shirt collars. That's important to the image of what these characters are because as we find out, they're actually programs. They're actually not even real people. So, and the fact that they're plugged in at all times, that matters because they are Secret Service type people, but at the end of the movie, Agent Smith is actually going to unplug. He's going to take that little earphone off and while he's interrogating Morpheus. So it's important that we know up front that they all have those and that it's important that he's taking that gear off. Now we get to an interesting point when you get up to Neo. All right, now this is an interesting description because we actually get no physical description of Neo whatsoever. Here's what it says. At the center of this technological rat nest is Neo, a man who knows more about living inside of a computer than outside one. Now, to a certain degree, some people might say that that's cheating, that we don't know that by looking at him. So how can you say he knows more about living inside a computer than outside of one? I think it's a general sense of what kind of person he is. I mean, what jumps to mind immediately is that he's a computer nerd or a computer game nerd, okay? If certain stereotypes come to mind, but it's abstract. So if you hire an actor to bring that to the role, they'll read that line in the script and they'll be like, a man who knows more about living inside of a computer than outside one. Well, what does that mean to me? And they'll come up with their own interpretation of that character. So I'm hesitant to use a description like that just because, it does make it hard to do. Like, it's hard to act that, and it's hard to show that on screen. And finally, let's take a look at Morpheus. Across the room, a dark figure stares out the tall windows veiled with decaying lace. He turns and his smile lights up the room. A dull roar of thunder shakes the old building. He wears a long black coat and his eyes are invisible behind circular mirrored glasses. He strides to Neo and they shake hands. So again, is that actable? Could you put anyone in that role? Could you put Morgan Freeman in that role? Could you put Jack Nicholson in that role? Yes, you could. It's, a dark figure, which is about the lighting, and he turns and his smile lights up the room. All you got to do is turn around and smile, okay? And he wears a long black coat and his eyes are invisible behind circular mirrored glasses. Again, we're just describing his wardrobe here. So you leave yourself open to a lot of casting choices, and the only character-defining trait is his dialogue, okay? So the dialogue is important to the character, but the physical description is not necessarily. So, again, when you say, now describing action is a little bit different. So this question is interesting because they say, can you put too much detail into the action going on? But the example given is more of a character introduction. Now, as far as action goes, it's really about timing your script. So you know intuitively from watching movies how long a scene should take, or how long, for example, an action beat should take, and you put in a certain degree of description to time it right. So if there's like a minute-long sequence where it's all action and nobody's talking, that should fill an entire page, okay? If it's just 30 seconds of action with no talking, that should be half a page, all right? So you can add or subtract words from your description to time it correctly, but you should have a sense in your mind of how long this would take on screen. Hopefully these examples have been useful to you. Bottom line, if you're introducing a character, I actually recommend just talking about what they're wearing, what their costume is, and leave the rest to the actor. There's not really much reason to describe skin tone or height or weight, or even, in terms of like the movie Alien, even the gender was not important. All the characters were written as male, but with a little line of description at the beginning saying, oh, by the way, all of these characters' genders are interchangeable, so you can cast them as women if you want. And that's how we end up with Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver. She was written as a male character with the little disclaimer, any of these characters could be men or women. So, you leave a lot to the actor, but to get a sense of the character, yes, describe their costume and leave the rest to the dialogue. Okay? So, what do you think of this advice? Do you hate it? Love it? You got another example from a different script that's not The Matrix? I was going to read from Star Wars, but I think we're out of time for today. All right? So, leave your comments in the section below. This is Good Screenwriting, and I'm Trevor Meyer. See you next time.